Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Don Dailey. On part one today, law enforcement's integral role in the tornado recovery and some help that's been put out there for our law officers. Sergeant Neil Fetner with the Clanton Police Department is in studio today to tell us about something that they were able to do for their fellow officers and tell us about the need that exists in the aftermath of the tornadoes. Neil, welcome to the program today.
Thank you for having me, Don.
Neil, you're also the Information Technology Officer for the City of Clanton, and in that vein, you guys were able to get some radios, communications equipment donated that you could pass along to police departments that really needed it after the tornado.
We were, as the Information Technology Officer, we have, of course, relationships with corporations in information technology, specifically Fujitsu Corporation, Verizon Wireless, and Pinnacle Networks out of Wetumpka, Alabama. And after seeing the devastation firsthand and seeing what our counterparts in law enforcement were up against, I sat down one night and I said, what can we do to help? We were already getting donations of water and personal hygiene products and things like that, but some of these agencies, specifically in Walker County and Marion County, that were really, really devastated, they didn't have the basic essentials to function as far as to take a report or to help somebody file an insurance claim.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to Pinnacle Networks, and one of our contacts there got us in touch with the gentleman at Fujitsu in Atlanta, and Fujitsu made a donation of 10 laptop computers, and from there we went to Verizon. Verizon gave us the telecommunications, and we hooked them up, so now we have computers scattered out all across the state being used for a various and sundry list of recovery efforts.
I imagine they were pretty well appreciated, considering that some departments in some areas literally lost their headquarters, their main communication lines were severely damaged, and they were hampered in responding to a disaster.
Absolutely. The relief from the chief of police in Cordova and the chief in Hackleburg, just to know that we were able to provide a little bit of a help to kind of get them back to a normal operating standard was great for us. And, you know, we were just glad to be able to use a resource that we had to bring this into happening.
Hackleburg, for instance, has gotten a lot of attention because the town was literally decimated. I think I read a stat that about 75% of the town of Hackleburg was severely damaged or destroyed, and I know the infrastructure was among those that took a hard hit. The police department was damaged, communication lines were down, and I can't imagine, Neil, having to respond to a disaster of that scope and yet being crippled by your own infrastructure being damaged.
It's a very humbling experience to stand in the middle of the debris and look in a 360-degree area and remember that this retail store was here, the city hall was here, the police department was here, and just be in awe of the devastation. You know, my heart goes out to everybody in every community that lost property, loved ones, and things like that. And when I saw the devastation in Cordova, I went to Cordova, and I was there for 2 days, and I was like, what can we do to help these folks?
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I rolled back to was my job at heart is information technology. So I said, look, we've got to do something. And Fujitsu, Pinnacle, Verizon, they jumped on board right off the bat, said, hey, how can we help you? So with their help, we were able to kind of bring a little much-needed help there. And the good thing is the computers belong to these agencies now. A lot of these agencies, or the emergency management agencies, they'll bring those back in-house, and the next time they have an incident, they'll have something to work with. Some of the stuff went straight to the police departments, like in Hackleburg and Cordova. So.
When we talk about law enforcement and disaster response, law enforcement naturally are among the first responders. They're out there the second the storm is gone, trying to help, trying to sift through the rubble, trying to help find survivors, trying to discern the scope of the damage. And again, I go back to, I can't imagine having to do some of those jobs without basic things like radios and computers now, which are so integral to what we do. It just makes an impossible job even that more difficult. And I guess you heard those kind of stories from Hackleburg and Cordova.
Absolutely. We heard stories from various locations of how they were picking up, evidence from the evidence locker that had been, of course, displaced during the storm. Ammunition from the ammunition locker being just scattered about. It's just unreal. The destruction of, an F3, F4, F5 tornado, which I believe Hackleburg was an F5.
Yeah.
That it will do to a community. And I mean, the emotional side is one thing, because I saw people in Cordova that told me stories of, we've been here since Wednesday. I haven't slept since Wednesday, and this is Saturday, midday. And one lady spoke about a family member that she lost, and she was so focused on helping everybody else. I don't think that she had taken the time to grieve for her own personal loss. And those types of things really moved me to want to do something. And when I got with my chief and I said, hey, we might be able to do something to help these folks, he's like, do it. And that's kind of how we got involved. And, it's about doing the right thing. And that's what we wanted to do is, use our resources and whatnot to try to do the right thing.
Kind of shakes you to your core that in a time of emergency, in a time of disaster, when you depend on law enforcement, to be there for you in the immediate aftermath, that even they're crippled. I imagine that kind of shakes your foundation a little bit more to know that even the law enforcement you depend on is kind of hampered in responding to you. So reaching out and helping like that kind of not only builds a lot of mutual respect and bonding between law enforcement agencies, but I think it strengthens the bond between law enforcement and the public, knowing that law enforcement will help out each other in times like that. And then, as you say, that's really what it's all about.
Absolutely. I mean, we're here to serve and protect, and, in the good times and the bad. And if, something like this were to, strengthen a relationship between an agency or a county or a community, so be it.
Yeah, and the beauty of it, too, is, the favor might have to be returned one day. You don't know when you might need help.
Well, absolutely. The city of Clanton was very, very fortunate during the storms. If I'm not mistaken, the storm that hit in Elmore County in the Santuck community could have very easily affected, the northern part of the city of Clanton if it had, not been airborne. So we were fortunate, and we were fortunate enough to be able in a position to be able to help take clothes and, supplies to Cordova and these other affected areas. So we were fortunate, and, it's about partners helping partners, people helping people. And we just wanted to do our part to try to pitch in where we could.
I know initially Clanton Police Department was taking up served as a donation site for things like toiletries and essentials like that. I think we've kind of passed that phase now, and I think the best thing probably people can do if they still want to give and help out is give money to, say, the Red Cross or the Salvation Army or something like that.
Absolutely. If anybody out there listening still wants to do something to try to help the victims of the 27 storms, make a check out to the local Red Cross. Donate blood for the next time that we have in a situation that arises that we need blood. We always need blood, so those types of things are always needed. The outpouring was wonderful, to see people from the Alabama, Tuscaloosa side, from the Auburn side, to come together to form a partnership to pitch in and give people a hand. We're a very resilient population here in the state of Alabama.
We've proved that over the last several weeks.
We take care of our people.
Yeah. Just to illustrate the point, I remember hearing after the Tuscaloosa tornado that their emergency operations center took a direct hit, that some of their communication towers were damaged in the storm, and that they were really hampered in some of their initial response. They acted quickly and got some stuff online, but I think that illustrates the point here that storms like this have no discretion, and they'll hit population centers and infrastructure just like they will rural homes and businesses. At the same time, you bring up a great point, Neil, and that is during all of this, many people like yourself were asking themselves, what can I do? I feel like I need to do something, but I don't know what I could do. And then we apply our own talents and abilities and focal points in our careers, and we say maybe we can parlay that into something we can do. And that's what you did here, and I think that's what a lot of people did, whatever their profession is or whatever their lot in life is. They took that and said, I can apply it here, here, and here and help. And there were so many examples of that, so many neighbors helping neighbors and churches reaching out in this tornado aftermath that I really don't think we could have gotten through it all had not, everybody else, picked up the ball and ran with it, so to speak. It's great that law enforcement's there. It's great that the charities are there, but it's great that private individuals who want to do something are there.
Oh, absolutely. I have a friend of mine. I live in Calhoun County, and I have a friend.
Calhoun County saw a lot of damage.
We did. We had an affected couple of communities in the Ohatchee community, the Webster's Chapel community. A friend of mine, right the day after the storm, he's the type of guy, he's not going to let somebody, go without something he needs. So what does he do? He puts his chainsaw in his car and he drives up the road, and they move from house to house to house cutting trees and piling trees. And they did that for 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
Just to, pitch in. And that's what it's about. And it wasn't just my friend. It was his neighbor and their neighbor and their neighbor. And it was just everybody coming together. I can't even begin to express the level of cooperation and participation from people.
Neil, when you went over, you said you went to Cordova, did you not?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about the experience of going there and meeting with some of your colleagues there in law enforcement and their reaction. Did they know the help was coming?
The chief at Cordova had been in communication with Chief Stillwell at Clanton, and Chief Stillwell had allocated personnel to go and help because Cordova is a small police department. I believe they may have 5 to 7 full-time sworn police officers, and the chief there was just elated when Chief Stillwell showed up and said, "Hey, how can I help you?"
Yeah.
Now, when we got there, they were still getting organized as far as bringing in the disaster recovery teams and things of that nature. And the chief at Cordova was very happy to know that other agencies were coming. Clanton was there, Jemison Police Department was there, Shelby County Sheriff's Office was there. We were all there until the state troopers got there. They sent the special ops team from, I think, the Mobile Post up to Cordova, and the National Guard got there later that night. But it was just people coming from everywhere. Jackson Police Department came, and some of those guys were there for a week. From probably Friday till the next Friday, because I had been back to Cordova at least I think once or twice since my initial visit, and some of those same guys were still there, pulling detail.
Wow.
Patrolling the neighborhoods, keeping people from looting, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So I think the Chief Bobo was very excited to see the outpour of help from the surrounding communities.
Neil, it's great what you and your colleagues in Clanton did for folks in Cordova and Hackleburg who suffered so mightily during the storm, securing and donating 10 laptop computers and wireless internet cards to these departments who lost so much in the tornadoes. And again, let's give a shout-out to those companies that were your partners in this endeavor.
Absolutely. Fujitsu jumped on the ball immediately. I had a phone call the next day back from Fujitsu, so I want to give them props for getting on the ball. And Verizon Wireless. The day after the storm, I got a call from Rachel Sorico with Verizon Wireless, and she says, "Here's our disaster recovery 1-800 number. If you need something, call these folks. We'll give you what you need."
Wow!
And we were able to put all this together with our partnership with Pinnacle Networks and Trish Couch and Wendell Beeson, Keith Carter, Mike Lunsford, all those guys down there in Wetumpka, Alabama. So just again, thanks, guys. We appreciate it, and I know the people across the state of Alabama appreciate it.
Indeed, and I'm sure it's been invaluable to law enforcement efforts both in Hackleburg and Cordova. Sergeant Neil Fetner with the Clanton Police Department, it's a pleasure to meet you, and again, thank you for what you guys did.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
You bet.